5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You're probably not getting any audio because I can't see the button. Hang on. I'm trying to find the button. Never mind. Things we do for our... Where are you? There you are. No, your audio is not working. There we go. Now you got audio.
Now I got audio. All right. Welcome to season 5, everyone. I'm glad that the Tipsy Toaster got to finally put on that helmet. He had that custom made a couple years ago, and it is
put it with glasses on though.
That's from the DeSantis singer show that never was, the Galactica show that never happened. But you're here on Interfleet Broadcasting. I'm your co-host, New York Pete, our technical director, and Cylon. Did you fix yourself there, Cylon? Is of course the other half of IFB, the Tipsy Toaster, Chris Moore. Thank you for doing what you do, Chris, today on Halloween and all days. You are our robot-based life form here on the show, and I want to thank all of you for tuning in. This is a pop culture, sci-fi, 70s and 80s anchored show. Tipsy and I are really big Battlestar Galactica fans, 1978, and of course that's our favorite. And let's just dive in with all our guests and all the things that we have set up today for Halloween. Today is live broadcast on October 31st, Halloween. And we have Dr. McAuley, we have John 1, we have a special guest, and we have special audios for you guys. A Dracula Lecture. We have a Jack Stauffer audio that we have for you guys to enjoy, and a couple other special surprises. So Tipsy, let's do what we do best, and that is thank the fans. We have Lola's and
sure
a whole bunch of regulars are on.
Don't forget to go to our site to get your Merlin Munchies coffee. Tonight I have actually opened up a special one. It is.
Did you? Oh, Pumpkin Spice Showdown.
And I'll tell you,
okay.
I think it's the best one yet.
Okay. I like that you say that every week, but that's cool. I like that. That's good.
Best one yet, but it could use something else.
Chris Laskowski from Australia is on with us. Bert Oliver Bomer says the auxiliary vessel Bomer joining the fleet. Welcome to the fleet. Let's see. Susan was with us. And Erica, Battlestar Bulletin Board, Sean is with us, R.D. Moreno, author. Thank you for coming and visiting. And everybody else that's watching throughout social media and YouTube, welcome to IFB Interfleet Broadcasting. Happy Halloween. Some of us are entertaining the trick-or-treaters. Some of us are actually hiding out from the trick-or-treaters. And
keep the door closed.
Lock it, turn the lights off, and don't give anything away. That's how most of my neighbors are, unfortunately. But then there's the good neighbors that give out like whole-size candy bars. So there's a balance in the universe. Yeah.
We just put an empty bucket out there saying take one only.
With an empty bucket?
Yeah, that way you don't have to give any. It's like, oh, look, somebody took them all. Sorry.
You giving out tricks. You should give out like folded pieces of paper that just say, you got tricked this year, and just have one, take them one at a time.
Then they destroy your door. So,
well, you're going to get destroyed anyway, but that's, yeah.
Anyways, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate everything that you guys do. It is the fans that are the most important part of the fandoms. So here's to you, because the fans feel the fleet.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay.
Yep.
In the wings,
that's pretty good.
Have.
Yep. Yeah, let's see some of that. What? It's Halloween. It's a little gin with your coffee.
With gin with your coffee, of course.
It's a little coffee with your gin. That's more likely.
Yes, because it's Halloween, not because it's anything.
Yeah, that's
else.
it. That's because
it's going to help you find all of the various buttons. Good evening.
I don't know if I put that helmet back on, I won't be able to find anything.
Yeah. Captain Martin, George Zuvalos, star of The Stranded Warrior, is with us. Thank you very, very much for joining us, George.
It's better with gin.
After we ran out of jack-o'-lantern filled of slices of sopressata. Yes, that's good. That's good. And that's Queens, New York style talk there. But George, thank you for joining. Appreciate you jumping on. We have some announcements regarding The Stranded Warrior tonight. As usual, pretty much, this is where we do a lot of our live announcements and updates for all of our projects, whether they be The Stranded Warrior or the Tower Protocol Resurrection. And so we'll get to those in a minute. I believe that we have John is ready with a small pop culture genre news anchor update that he sent over my way, and it's pretty cool. It's got some things that I was not aware are going on, and so I believe John, you should be prepped and ready as soon as
he's prepped and ready. But I got him. Yeah, we got it. John, you move that camera down a little bit if you can.
There we go.
There we go.
Perfect.
Just to make sure before we come over. Otherwise, I just have the top of your head. Although I do like the penguin, or that's not what we're looking for. And there's John 1. And hang on, let me get his audio going. I really have to. There's some way to fix this. I have to figure it out.
I wonder. I
ahead,
wonder
John.
if we're gonna.
Audio
Hey,
check?
John.
You guys okay? Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, guys.
I wonder if you can we see the trick-or-treaters coming up to your window in the back and like knocking on it?
Oh,
Throwing eggs at it.
I got the good candy, so they're not gonna bother the house.
No, you don't have to buy any candy if you just throw something out there that says, "Just take one and leave it empty." So,
Wow, that's not cool. Not cool. Not a happy Halloween at the
for them,
Tipsy
it's not a happy
Foster's house.
Halloween, but
No,
I had my wife
no.
with me today when we went trick or treating, so I couldn't do that. It's like, oh, grab it. And they're like, no, one at a time. I'm like, yeah, one at a time. Don't get me one.
So John, welcome and cheers for all the work you've been doing. Thank you
Cheers,
very
guys.
much. So whenever Tipsy, if you got
wait,
set,
I missed out
think-
on that. Cheers.
Oh, you missed. Yes.
Oh, sorry, wrong one.
Okay. All right. We're having a heck of a party on IFB tonight. A Halloween party.
By the end of the night,
Yes.
I may be pretty scary.
Oh, I think you're scaring me right now, as is.
Nah.
However, all right. So, John, take it away. If Tipsy, you got you ready for him. let's,
Take it away, John.
Yeah.
It's like Calgon,
Halloween,
take it
everybody.
away. Yeah,
Do-do-do-do-do.
Calgon, take
Happy
me away.
Halloween.
John, take me away. Happy Halloween, John. Go ahead, John. I keep interrupting you, John. Hey, John,
That's
can
all right.
I interrupt you again?
Yes.
Okay. It's all you now.
Good. All right. Got a quick review for you guys. First up, Red One. It's that time of year now. Christmas. Be happy. Yada yada yada. And I just get sucks. So, what can you do? In theaters, November 15th. It's when a villain kidnaps Santa Claus, The Rock goes to save him. That's typecasting at its best for The Rock. So, might as well get on that jolly sled and have some fun and take the family out and enjoy this family movie. Looks pretty funny. Looks good special effects, but same thing. He gets kidnapped. Someone finds him winning Christmas, and everyone gets huggy, lovey, blah blah blah. Happy ending at the end.
Oh, so it's the what is it? The Hallmark version?
Yeah, pretty much. I wish they could have a remake of Santa Claus vs. the Martians again. Like, remember that old '68 movie? And
Yeah. That's
There we
fight the
go.
Martians.
There's one I'm gonna have to rewatch for Christmas time. But here we are to walking Christmas already. It's not even Thanksgiving
pretty
yet.
much. We're gonna have to review another one, B movie, Santa's Sleigh.
Oh yeah.
That's another wrestler guy.
Have to check that
There you
one
go.
out too.
Goldberg dresses up as Santa and starts killing people. So it's pretty funny.
Ooh. I'm gonna find that one.
That and Meth Gator. We had to review those one day.
Ohio. Anyways,
Anyway, and that's this next sci-fi movie out in theaters November 8th looks pretty good. Elevation. It's about a single father and 2 women trying to go to the mountains, trying to save this young boy, and they're attacked by alien creatures, and they're trying to save her. So it's like a big romp through the woods, and the aliens are after them. It's like almost like Quiet Place with noise, and that should be pretty good. It's good actors in it. Looks pretty fun and something different. So that's called Elevation. That's out in theaters November 8th. And that's a bit. And Disney has released the new Deadpool and Wolverine movie coming out. It's on Disney Plus on November 12th. It was a great movie with a lot of twists and turns, a lot of Easter eggs to enjoy it. And Disney sent this picture out since Wolverine, Deadpool has potty humor. That's how they sent it out.
I thought they were advertising Waste of Time #3, season 3 there.
Yes, and I was a big Wolverine fan, as you know. I kind of didn't like the way Deadpool was treating him, but, it was a good movie. Wolverine got his licks in. And speaking of Disney, another spinoff from another spinoff is in the works. Paul Bettany has confirmed he will start filming his Vision series for Disney Plus this year.
Oh.
All right, well, there's so much more Disney can do with other stuff, but I guess they want to make more remakes and Vision and stuff. And Vision, he's the most boring guy ever in Avengers, but whatever works, Disney. So one can only hope they make some new stuff, like maybe for a series on the Empire side of you, but we'll see. And more news for you Gundam fans.
Heck yeah!
You've seen this series on Netflix. This is pretty good. I thought it was pretty good. Requiem for Vengeance. That was really good. Legendary Pictures is teaming up with Bandai to make a live-action movie. We'll keep you updated as soon as we get more information on it. But they've been looking for a live action for some time. Hopefully they do it. And Legendary Pictures is a pretty good company, so it should be good. And that's it for me. Have a good night, everybody. Looking for some nice stories, some Halloween scares.
Yep. Wow. It really was the last part, I guess. Check. Did I lose everybody? No.
Thank you
there he is.
For taking care of things, John.
Taking care of business.
Chris Marshall is on with us. Chris, I'm glad you dropped in. Yes. Chris
Meth Gator, isn't that John's call sign?
Meth Gator.
Stand by for some very good news, Chris Marshall. Stephen McCormick, James McCoy, thank you guys for tuning in, and everybody else that's on the various, whether you're on YouTube or Twitch or wherever else.
You're twitching, you're tubing, you're whatever.
That you're watching. Thank you very much for watching us live. And then those of you that watch us later on, sometimes upwards of 35, 37,000, close to 40,000 sometimes that tune in. It's Halloween. We got some really cool stuff for you. So please stay tuned. But before we go there, Chris, do you have the latest update on our Stranded Warrior fan film that we released a trailer for, and we're inching our way closer to completion thanks to the CG team that are totally dedicated to getting the project done. For those of you that are involved with CG, know how difficult that is to get all that stuff done and green screen and the like. And so we have all of the acting parts of the film are all done. Oh, wow. And so the live action is done. We have picture lock for live action, and we are now working on getting all of the computer graphics and special effects laid in, and rotoscoping and all that has to be done. So we are very close. But in the meantime, we've done the festival thing, right, Tipsy? And
yep. I'm ready whenever you are.
Yeah, let her rip.
There we go.
There we are. New round of awards as of today. We have actually won another film festival. And so best trailer from the UK, Cult Movie International Film Festival. And we also have honorable mention for our official movie poster. So that's the Monza Film Fest in Italy. So thank you very, very much, Chris Marshall, for stepping up and working that, taking that creative idea that I spun out to him, and then we went back and forth, worked with a couple others on that, including Chuck Davenport. But Chris Marshall was tip of the spear. So there you go, Chris. There is your skills at work. Our official movie poster for the Stranded Warrior. We have another set of laurels, another win, another victory internationally for the official movie poster. Thank you, Chris Marshall. Thank you to the fans. Thank you for everybody that actually supported and continues to support. Our executive producer, Dr. Chris McAuley, is here, obviously, with us. He hadn't seen this. This hasn't been shared. So there is our official laurels and awards from both. And we have the certificate. Chris, you want to pull up the next slide? This came in as well from Cult Movie International Film Festival, Best Trailer. So congratulations, Chris Moore, Tipsy Toaster, who directed the whole project. And him and I sat down and created that trailer that's obviously won no less than 4 international film festivals. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Chris and Chris and all the other Chris.
Congratulations,
everybody.
Yep.
Wow.
Team effort.
Work.
Yes.
Great work.
Thank you very much, guys. So I want to lay that out tonight on Halloween. And with that said, can we now bring on some of the others, Tipsy Toaster? Do you think you have the magic to there? Whoa, okay. And
that's what you're talking about?
Dr.
The other
McAuley.
people? Oh, yeah.
Oh.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm all the better for hearing about more awards for Stranded Warrior. I am very, very proud to be part of this project. So, there's tremendous work that's been done by Tipsy, the actors, the CG team, everybody involved. I've been keeping watch on the various messages and the things happening. I'm very proud of it. So, great news today.
Absolutely. On Halloween, I wasn't holding back. That's what we got. I got the messages early this morning, and it was a pleasant surprise. So I'm
fantastic.
Very happy to share that with everybody. So thank you, everyone involved, including, of course, Captain Martin that was on just momentarily. I think he might still be there, but congratulations to you too as well. So for starring. So yeah, we're doing really, really well. Thank you guys. So Doc McAuley, are you psyched tonight? We have quite an agenda.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot of special stories that I've written that some particularly famous people are going to be reading out. We've got a Dracula lecture, so I'm going to be showing some of Bram Stoker's handwritten notes. I don't think these have been on display in a format quite like this before. So I'll be explaining the origins of Dracula and vampires in general. And we've got a few famous faces that are going to pop in from the world of Doctor Who as well. So, will we get started, gentlemen? Are we ready?
Sure.
Yes.
Let's go. Let's go. I'm going to have a sip of Stokerverse wine, Stokerverse beer, and it's in an appropriate mug, little Dracula mug. So I'm going to say, as we begin, fans feel the fleet. Thank you very much for joining us, everyone. And let's start with a Jack the Ripper audio story. Ooh. This was written by myself and performed by an actor, Jonathan Goodwin. He's quite famous in the UK for his theatre work. He does one-man shows. So he's a darling of the stage and screen. I suppose I should say as well on screen. Now, I will give a warning before this is played out. If you have a nervous disposition, do not listen to this. Mute it for a bit. This is the Stokerverse in all its gory glory. It has this particular audio has won an award. So only the best for IFB, right?
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
All right, we ready?
Yep.
All right, let's make sure the audio is on this before we get going too far.
Okay.
Hang on. Audio.
Hey,
all right, ready.
Okay.
With a devil's strength, he twists. A few more upward thrusts, and the kidneys came free. These sweetmeats were to be a sharing of the morsel which he would send to the inspector, attempting to hunt him down. He sighed and quoted Shelley as he straightened his cloak. Look upon my works, ye mighty, and despair. And perhaps cribbing Ozymandias may have been a weakness born of hubris, but it had been true. The magnificence of his task had been recognized by the press, as well as the circle of whore whom he targeted. The purpose of each of these sacrifices had not been discerned, however, no matter how many obvious clues had been left in his wake. These human sigils had a deeper meaning, and only students of the arcane schools, of which, until recently, he had been a member, would truly understand. Underneath the streets lay beating the hearts of the gods of old Britannia, huge, magnificent, and powerful creatures who had been left in a timeless slumber. Stooping down, once again he placed his hand to the street. He believed that he could feel a faint vibration coming from below. The blood from the girl began to pool around his black, gloved hand, and he raised his head into the night. The sky was obscured by the thick wisps of fog, which often confounded the lamplighters in their duty. He gazed once more at his work, and, with an artist's precision, adjusted the exposed intestines. It was important that every detail was exact. He could afford to linger no longer, and, tearing himself away from the configuration of exposed organs and flesh, he hurried away across the cobbled streets and into the swirling mists. Just before he disappeared, he heard the distinct and shrill whistle blows of the local constabulary. His work had been discovered. He turned towards the noise and accompanying shouts, and his obsidian-like eyes gleamed with a dark intensity. His masters would be pleased.
Whoa.
So there you go. That is the Jack the Ripper, a little snippet of the Jack the Ripper stuff from the Stokerverse. So you can find out more about Jack the Ripper in the Stokerverse by looking at the RPG, which is out. I promised I wouldn't do any product plugging, but sometimes I just can't. I just can't help myself. So that's the first of our stories of tonight, performed very admirably by Jonathan Goodwin. And I think we've got a little message from a particular doctor, another doctor, whose name isn't Chris.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh boy, that's incredible. Because I'm looking for the day when I can have 3 or more Chris's on this show at the same time. But okay, who's this other doctor?
Well, if Tipsy's got it queued up, it's Mr. Sylvester McCoy, who's Doctor Who number 7.
Oh boy.
Whoa.
And there he is.
And Jessica. Listen, I wish you the best of luck with your Bram Stoker Dracula comics. Yes, I was in Dracula, you know. I was in a film with Frank Langella and Laurence Olivier a long, long time ago. And also, I played Dracula at Stratford East under the auspices of the great and glorious Joan Littlewood, the Theatre Workshop. One moment I loved delightfully was at the end of the play, when Dracula was dying. They had these steps right down into the audience, because that's what Joan Littlewood loved, was the steps. You could get into the audience easily. And I had my back to the audience, and I was dying, and I was going up into my coffin, my big coffin, and at the last minute I turned around my cape and I screamed and I ran into the audience. That was me running into the audience, and the audience screamed. They were defecating all over the fucking place. Brilliant. I love that moment. I've also played him in a musical. I didn't play Dracula. I played what's his name? The one that eats flies and birds. Renfield. Yes, I did that in a musical. That was great fun. Anyway, I love Dracula. And I hope you have a great time. Bye!
So to put that in slight context, one of his companions in the Doctor Who series was played by Jessica Martin, and Jessica Martin illustrated some of our Dracula comics. So that is my connection to Sylvester McCoy. Now, some people are going to ask why I used the cameo for that. Is that I always want to make sure that actors are fairly compensated, even if they're doing me a little favor or two. And it's very important to myself, and I think it's something that XG3, our film company, stand by as well. So that's one of the reasons that I paid for the cameo on that. So that is that's our first Doctor,
yes,
of the evening. Maybe second Doctor if you count me, but
yes,
I'm not.
Second Doctor. Yes,
I'm not a Doctor Who. I'm not a Doctor Who.
No, you're not a Doctor Who yet.
Well,
you could be.
Well,
you're just a Doctor.
That's it.
Give me the news. I got. Oh, sorry.
You promised you were going to share that other honorary doctorate you get.
Yes,
you have one. You got one.
I have.
I have a legitimate.
I have a legitimate one, and I've got an honorary one.
Yes.
And if anybody's hearing this from Queen's University Belfast, I'm sorry that I've called this it's not a fake one. It's an honorary one for services to media and literature. So thank you very much for that. It's in the post. I've only just started getting mail from 2 months ago. As you know, Pete, I've moved house, and there's been bits and pieces for the last couple of months that haven't really been getting to me, but I have been starting to get packages. I promise you, when I get that certificate, I will unroll it.
Yes.
And show it up on the screen.
Yes, excellent.
So anyway, shall we move on? I think it's now the lecture about Dracula and Bram Stoker. A little chat about that.
Very cool. Yes.
That's the next in our agenda. So I wanted to do this. This is a lecture that Decker and I have put together for IFB. It goes into the history of vampires, and I've been given special permission to show some of Bram Stoker's handwritten notes during this lecture, so that makes it particularly special. And if Tipsy's got the slideshow, I will begin.
In a minute. Somehow I got
all right.
stuck.
Well, okay. So you getting it? That's all right. I know that it's somewhere in there. We have. So I went to Chiller Theater. That's the convention that just passed. I hope that some of you actually got to see pictures that I posted. It was fantastic. And I picked up a few really, really cool things. Oh, this being appropriate for tonight, one of my favorites. There he is, Kolchak, the Night Stalker. So this is an epilogue. It has all of the episodes. This is from October 1990, not quite from then, but it's a special with Night Stalker, Thriller, Outer Limits, Night Gallery, Sixth Sense, The Twilight Zone, and the new Twilight Zone, all in one. Has all the breakdown of all the episodes in those series. So that's pretty cool amongst some of the other things that I got. Okay, Tipsy, go.
We are ready.
Ready.
So I've called this Let the Right One In, and it's a little play on the Stokerverse beer, which is called Invite Me In, and also the film. So that's what it's called. And let's have a look at really what's the big deal about Dracula. Okay, we all know, we've all heard Dracula. We've all watched the movies. So it's roughly about 126, 127 years since the novel was first published. Publisher was an English publisher called Archibald and Constable. It was published in 1897. And there's a lot of mysteries that surround this novel, which Decker and I have been piecing together over the last couple of years. Dracula is considered to be a masterpiece of the Gothic horror genre. I would stand by that. I think it's one of Bram Stoker's best works. I don't think it's necessarily his best work. I've gone on record as saying that, but it's definitely one of his works. One of the reasons that Dracula has survived so long is that it's been in everything. It's a true transmedia character. You know, it's been in films, stage productions, popular culture with Marvel Comics. And now with the Stokerverse, we can actually experience the original Dracula, because the original Dracula has rarely been experienced outside the novel. So as Christopher Lee said, or Sir Christopher Lee said, nobody filmed it like Bram Stoker wrote it. Christopher Lee was a great fan of the original novel, and there's famous instances where he refused. Actually, his Dracula was silent in a couple of the Hammer horror films because he refused to say the dialogue that were written, because he believed that it went against the spirit of Bram Stoker. So kudos to the late great Sir Christopher Lee for that. Now, we look at the mythology of the vampire. So Bram Stoker had never been to Romania, never been to Transylvania. The only Stoker that's been to Transylvania and Romania, and he's there at the minute, is Decker Stoker. So where did he get some of his inspiration from? Well, there's various vampires that are out there in mythology. So you have Lamashtu, who's a sort of a cryptid demon. So this particular creature would watch pregnant women give birth, and then would take the baby and then drink the baby's blood. Now, we see this in the Dracula novel when the women are surrounding Jonathan Harker, and Jonathan Harker's having a great old time, apparently. And then Dracula appears and then pulls all the women away, and they say to Dracula, "Are we to have nothing to eat?" And Dracula gives them a child, and they feast upon the child, the little baby. And the mother of the child is banging on the castle doors outside. And Dracula looks outside the window and summons the wolves to eat the child's mother. So that's where we can trace this influence back. Then we have in Jewish Midrash, and actually you'll see it in the book of Hebrews and in the New Testament, Lilith, who was Adam's first wife. So Lilith's a very interesting character. She is referred to as a demon. The backstory of Lilith was that she refused to submit to Adam. So she was cast out of the Garden of Eden, and she became the mistress of Satan. And she bore demon children, and those demon children were sworn to destroy humanity. So she also was quite famous for sucking the blood of infants. So again, we have that inference of the three weird sisters. They're not called brides in the book. That's a Hollywood thing. But the three weird sisters, and a link again to Lilith. So in Greek mythology, we've got this concept of the Lamia. They were beautiful women that were beloved of Zeus. We have a story of Lamia, who was a mortal queen of Libya. And Hera was very jealous of her husband's infidelity. And she had all sorts of curses for women that like to have sex with her husband. And one of them was that she turned this mortal queen of Libya into this sort of serpent-like vampire creature. If anybody's been a fan of Xena Warrior Princess, you actually do see the Lamia in Xena Warrior Princess, and Xena becomes a vampire in one of the episodes. Great, sexy episode. You should see it. You should watch it. Actually, watch it tonight. Go and find it and watch it. Because who wouldn't love Lucy Lawless with fangs, right? But yes, we have the Lamia drinking the blood of children, and then we have another sort of half serpent style vampiress, the Empusa, who were the children of the Lamia. There's a Greek mythology about Orpheus, and Orpheus was a musician, and he went to hell to find his love Eurydice, who had been captured by Hades. Hades listened to him play the lyre and was so taken by the music that he agreed to allow Eurydice to leave with him, but he couldn't look back during their journey up towards the surface. And he looks back, and she gets pulled back into hell. It's a little similar to the story in the Bible of Lot. Lot's wife, he's told not to look back. He looks back, and she becomes a pillar of salt. But anyway, Orpheus emerges and is immediately torn to pieces by the Lamia, or the Bacchae, as they're known, and only his head is left. And his head floats down the river, and it's still alive. And then a Greek priest finds it, and it still sings songs. So there's a little bit of Greek mythology for those who have Greek heritage, and how vampirism links to that. So we have the Irish factor as well. This may surprise many of you who have watched Francis Ford Coppola's film. I am not allowed to call it Bram Stoker's Dracula because it's not Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's not the Dracula that Bram envisaged at all. You have at the start of the film, Vlad the Impaler, and his wife commits suicide, and he forswears the church, plunges a sword into the cross, and all this blood flows out. He drinks it and becomes a vampire. That is not what Bram Stoker envisaged. That was something that Francis Ford Coppola came up with. I think it's brilliant opening for a film, but it's not Bram Stoker's Dracula. So we know that he's not the original influence behind Dracula. Bram did not originally know anything about the legend of Vlad III at all. We know that there were greater influences socially and mythologically closer to home. So Bram's nanny, who's quite a mysterious individual called Ellen Crone, she told him popular Irish mythologies whenever he was very, very ill as a young boy. And he actually had blood taken from him, bad blood, and we'll come back to that in a minute, bad blood taken from him from leeching. And we believe that may be something that triggered the scene with Jonathan Harker and the women with their teeth on Jonathan Harker leeching blood. One of the other Irish pieces of Irish history that links to the birth of Dracula is the cholera epidemic, specifically in Sligo. Charlotte Stoker, Bram Stoker's mother, was a child when this happened, and we see a lot of inferences. And Decker and I are going to be bringing this out in graphic novel format next year, where we take Charlotte Stoker's diaries and we bring it in as part of the Irish Bram Stoker origins of Dracula. So moving on, there was an Irish vampire called Abertach, and there are parallels between Abertach and Dracula. So Abertach was this diminutive magician who plagued one of the High Kings of Ireland. And the High King decided he wanted him killed. So they killed Abertach. 3 days later, Abertach returns from the dead and now starts demanding blood. And there's the Chief of Ireland has to give Abertach blood sacrifices. Now, the only way that you kill him was by piercing him through the heart with a piece of ash wood and then burying him upside down under this tree, this exact tree, which is an ash rose tree in a field. This exists today. There's a lot of spooky stories about this. Throughout the centuries, farmers have tried to cut this tree down or get rid of the tree, and they can't do it. So there's stories of a farmer taking a tractor, putting a piece of rope, getting the rope ready to put around the tree, and the tractor drives off by itself. Most recently, farmer has tried to cut it down with a chainsaw, and every time the chainsaw comes near the tree, the chainsaw cuts out. A lot of strange stories about this area and this tree. So there you go. So that's where we believe that part of the Dracula mythology comes from. And then another key one that Irish scholars are looking at the minute the Bram Stoker Society in Sligo particularly, is Dracula and the Famine. So Bram saw these effects happening with these minor famines across the country. And I'm not one of these Irish people that beat my breast and go, oh, the famine. It was all the English's fault. The issue with the famine was that we did not diversify. We were arable farmers and we relied mostly on the potato, and the potato was a great export, and we didn't diversify. So, you know, the Irish kind of have to take it in the chin on that in that way. But anyway, Bram was born in Black 47, so this was the height of the Great Famine. And there's a lot of stark imagery with this, you know, as you can see, which we believe has influenced Dracula. And then Charlotte told Bram of the first-hand accounts of her encounters with the cholera, and as Bram was growing up, the Great Famine, what that really caused. And I have to thank Dr. Marion McGarry of the Sligo Stoker Society for this pieces of information, and she's a wealth of knowledge about Bram Stoker in Ireland. So as we've talked about, there was Bram Stoker and the Irish cholera epidemic. So here's actual text from Charlotte Stoker's cholera accounts that was typed up. So we have the you know, our world was shaken with this dread of new and terrible plague that was decimating all lands that passed through them. And you see this, it's this real horrific event that happened in Irish history. In Sligo, they were burning barrels of pitch and tar, and it turned the landscape into this smoky, fiery hellhole. And there was how they believed they could get rid of cholera was by burning phosphorus, and there's this horrible smell with that horrible, hellish, real horrible smell, and that was throughout the entire area. There was little dishes that were burnt of that as well. So the account is quite horrific, and we'll be bringing that to light next year. There's also a theory that Dracula and the Irish landlords. So you have this sort of Punch was a famous satirical illustrated magazine that was published in London. It was quite left-leaning, and you can see here, you know, you've got the spectre of the Irish landlords and the Irish vampire there. Now, that was published before Dracula, 1886, and again could have been slightly in Bram Stoker's mindset with that. Now we come to Dracula's possibly secret Irish name, and this is I'm actually going to butcher this because my Gaelic is terrible, but Drothul, which translates into bad blood, right? So this may be one of the origins of Dracula, and the Irish scholars are looking at this as well. And the meaning of this is bad blood. So again, think about the leeches. Think about Bram being very ill as a young child and having that blood taken out of him. This is a fringe theory, but I wanted to include it in the slides because I think it's pretty cool. Now, if we go back, we start looking at the literary forms of vampirism. We've got a Lord Byron, and he created, well, there was himself and a guy called Dr. John Polidori, and they created the vampire, vampyre. And this is the sort of literary effete vampire, quite familiar to fans of Anne Rice. He was the first noble vampire. Before this, vampires were seen as like the Nosferatu style, horrible looking creatures that did despicable things, but you knew them by their looks. They looked like, you know, human rats or human ghouls. They had that kind of appearance. The vampire novel was the first time that we saw a noble vampire, which obviously Dracula is. He's a count. He's of noble blood. So that's interesting. So yes, we have the vampire with John Polidori. This was actually created during the same night where Mary Shelley created Frankenstein. They wrote that all in the one night, and it's a kind of a coin toss who really who really wrote this? Was it Polidori or was it Byron? I would actually go and say that it was Polidori, because Byron was a bit of a boaster and he liked to steal people's work as well. So then we move on to the Penny Dreadfuls of the era. And the Penny Dreadfuls of the era were books that were very cheap. They were reproduced, and you have Varney the Vampire. And if you go to archive.org, you can actually get all of these. Varney the Vampire was one of the longest running vampire epics of the Victorian era. And again, you can kind of see from the images here that he's quite an attractive, regal, aristocratic vampire. So again, that has influenced the more handsome versions of Dracula as we've gone through the ages. And then we have another vampire story by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. And this one is, again, the link to this is the Van Helsing character. So as you can see on the right, there's a character that looks quite like Van Helsing, who's examining this lady who may or may not be turning into a vampire. And that's the link there to Dracula. Go and check this one out. Again, it predates Dracula. It's a great story. And now we come on to Sheridan Le Fanu's Carmilla. And Carmilla was written 26 years before Dracula. Sheridan Le Fanu was an Irishman, and we believe this is the first LGBT vampire fiction novel. And it charts a lady called Laura, who's she's an aristocrat. She finds this woman who is injured and brings her into her home. She's captivated by this woman, and there may have been a sexual relationship as well as a vampiric relationship. Her father, Laura's father, finds out about this and suspects Carmilla of being a vampire, and then kills her. This is the Stokerverse has a film that's in production at the minute. Check it out on IMDb. It's being filmed by XG3, and it should be in production in the next couple of weeks. And this will be filmed in Ireland with an Irish cast. So one of the great influences on Dracula is from Emily Gerard, who was a Scottish author. She was a writer, and she wrote this book called The Land Beyond the Forest, which is actually the English translation of Transylvania. And this is where Bram Stoker started to get information about Transylvania and Romania from. He went to the library in London and looked at these books. The original title of Dracula, as we'll see in a couple of slides, was actually The Undead. It wasn't Dracula at all. It was just called The Undead. His publisher, a guy called Otto Kleiman, he wanted a one-word title because that was catchier. So he went to the London Library and found this book, and inside this book he gained a lot of information about Transylvania and Dracula. So we have Emily Gerard to thank for that. She also wrote a book called The Superstitions, Transylvanian Superstitions, which talked about werewolves and vampires and witches and ghouls and all sorts of things that we know Bram Stoker took from. So this is in Bram Stoker's handwriting. The original title is called The Undead. And in those days, a bit like today, if any authors are out there watching, you will know that whenever you submit a manuscript, you have to say that you are somebody. You've done other things in order for a manuscript to get accepted. It was the same in Bram Stoker's day. So there we see, he was the author of Under the Sunset, Snake's Pass. He was establishing himself that he has already been a published author. Please look at my manuscript, and there you can see the copyright there, 1897 by Bram Stoker, all rights reserved. And that was how you did copyright in those days. So now we move on to an interesting aspect of Dracula lore. There was and I'm not even going to try and pronounce the Swedish name for this, but it's translated as The Powers of Darkness. And it was serialized in an Icelandic newspaper. This translation is completely different. It's almost a completely different book. There's extended sequences in the castle. There's sacrificial pits. there's half-human ape creatures, there's black masses, there's human sacrifice, there's Dracula espouses socialist revolutionary concepts. Remember, at that time, there was violent uprisings happening in Russia, violent uprisings starting to happen within London as well, against the aristocracy and against the monarchy. And Dracula believed in the survival of the fittest. He actually believed in Nietzsche's philosophies. And you get extended periods or sequences, in the book, where he talks to intellectuals and philosophers about this. And then we see Dracula influencing London society. Now, what's interesting is that these sequences are coming partly from the missing 120 pages of Dracula. So the publisher, Otto Kleiman, took 120 pages out of the original Dracula. And the reason was that Bram Stoker claimed that Dracula was a true story. The original prologue, which I've seen, states that this is a true story and that he has changed the names of all the people present to protect their identities. And is Dracula a true story? Yes, it is. And we've been starting to reveal that in the Stokerverse, how it's a true story, who the real Dracula actually was based on. And I'm probably not allowed to say too much more because you're going to have to go and buy Dracula Return issue 2 to find out that detail. We have that in there. But we do reveal who Dracula really was. And he was somebody known to Bram Stoker. So Powers of Darkness contains some of that, some of those aspects. And again, it's this piecing together of the great mystery of Dracula. So if we go to the next slide, then we look at the differences between what you get in the bookshops and on your shelf as Dracula. So the differences in Powers of Darkness, Harker is attracted to one of the brides and meets her secretly. This is the fourth bride or fourth weird sister that I have brought into the Stokerverse. Dracula does not live alone and has a mute housekeeper and a clan of these half-ape like creatures who worship him. Dracula has political goals, and during the human sacrifice ritual, he doesn't actually drink the blood of the girl, which is interesting. In Powers of Darkness, Mina is never attacked by Dracula. In Whitby in London, Dracula hardly appears in public. He's never there. There are two detectives in this book called Tellett and Barrington, and they team up with Mina and conduct investigations into Dracula and the castle and where Dracula comes from. And Dracula openly visits Lucy when she's sick, and the police play an active role investigating Lucy's mother's death. So this is a vastly different book to the original Dracula that's on your shelf, and this was serialized in an Icelandic newspaper. And this was written by Bram Stoker. There are some scholars who don't think it's written by him because the prose is slightly different. I would say that it has been written by him, and I have the evidence that we're going to show tonight. So if we go to the next slide. So now we're going to start looking at Dracula, look behind the scenes. We're going to look at the handwritten notes, some of the handwritten notes that Bram Stoker used whenever he was writing Dracula. So here's Bram Stoker looking at a vampire, what a vampire is. So no looking glasses in the Count's house. No one ever sees him reflected in a looking glass or a mirror, and he has no shadows. The lights are arranged to give him no shadow. He never eats or drinks. He's carried or led over the threshold. He has enormous strength. He sees in the dark. He has the power of growing small or large. He's a very rich man. He only uses gold, and that's traced to the Salzburg banking house. There's a hidden chapter of Dracula that Decker and I have that's coming out in the Stokerverse next year, where it's before Jonathan Harker goes to see Dracula, and this note is part of it. At the Munich dead house, he sees a face among flowers, thinks it's a corpse, but it's alive. Afterwards, whenever Harker sees Dracula in London, he sees a white moustache. There's a doctor at Dover Custom House that sees either Dracula or a living corpse, and coffins are selected to be taken over to London. but one wrong one is bought. That's all. That's what that whole list is. And I have to thank the Rosenbach Museum and Library for allowing me to use this. So if we go to the next one here, so these notes all point to the Scholomance. So the Scholomance is a school in the mountains where the devil teaches mysteries of nature. This was a real school. This was like an evil Hogwarts, and many leaders of European dynasties would have sent their children there to learn science, the occult, magic, alchemy. It was always said that the devil would take his due, and the 10th child that was brought to the Scholomance would be taken by the devil. And we know that Vlad Dracul was the 10th child. So that's the notes that link the Scholomance to Dracula. In Dracula The Return, issue 1, in the extended book, there's a text-based story that I include the Scholomance, and Dracula's linked to the Scholomance there. And the head of the Scholomance school is Judas Iscariot. And it's revealed that the real power behind the Scholomance is Satan himself. And Dracula must drink the blood from the skull of Christ to become a vampire. And that's the story. So check that out if you want to see the origins of Dracula in the Stokerverse. So the next page, then, we've got a list of characters that Bram originally wanted to put into Dracula. So we've got lawyer, lawyer's clerk, mad doctor, he loves girl, that eventually became Dr. Seward, mad patient, theory of perpetual life, who eventually became Renfield. We have a philosophic historian, undertaker, undertaker's man, girl who dies, it's Lucy, lawyer, shrewd, skeptical sister, Crank, German professor of history, who becomes eventually Van Helsing, silent man and dumb women, who are Dracula's servants. So again, think back to the Powers of Darkness, that Dracula had dumb servants. That's what we're basing that on, and that's how we know that Powers of Darkness was written by Bram Stoker. And we have a detective inspector called Cotford, who we've brought into the Stokerverse. And again, that's linking Bram Stoker to the Powers of Darkness. So I'm going to finish this brief chat up with looking at how Bram Stoker saw vampires in general. Actually, this is a repeat of one of the slides. I think, isn't it? It is. Nice sec. So I'm going to finish the little chat there. But this gives you a little insight into how Dracula was crafted, the various mysteries involved. Stay tuned to the Stokerverse, because we'll be bringing all these out in fiction, a television series, in film, all sorts of things. And we're bringing the original Dracula back to life as Bram originally intended it, without any edits or any cuts throughout our media. Okay, I'm not pitching the Stokerverse anymore. That's it.
Great. Thank you, Chris.
Fantastic. So Doc, are you prepared now at this stage to let a little more of the Stokerverse into Halloween, and in the form of one of our favorite Battlestar Galactica
Yes.
actors?
This was a privilege to do. This was something that was like Jack has this beautiful voice. I told him that when I listened to him in the phone, he had this absolutely beautiful voice that's like old time radio. So I can now reveal that Jack Stauffer is playing Van Helsing in the last moments of his life, looking back on his career as a vampire hunter. And Jack loved this. And I'm going to stop talking. We're just going to let Jack do the work now. He's a master of his craft, and I'm very excited. This will not be going on sale. This will not be available anywhere else.
Nope.
This is it. It's a one and done. So if you're listening to this, we feel very privileged, because this is not going out anywhere. And this is stood over by the Stoker family and myself. It is part of the genuine Stokerverse. So thanks very much, Jack, for doing this. We do appreciate it.
Van Helsing's last confession. I am an old man now, my bones weary from the weight of years and the countless battles fought against the shadows that linger at the edge of our mortal understanding. The world has changed much since I first faced those dark things that dwell in the corners of our nightmares. But some evils, I fear, remain ever the same. Dark things that time cannot bury, nor distance diminish. Throughout my long life, I have studied, learned, and pursued truths that many would rather leave undisturbed. I have encountered creatures born of nightmares, creatures not bound by the laws of God or man. But none of these horrors compared to the one that first opened my eyes to the true nature of the darkness. It was many years before I ever crossed paths with Count Dracula. I was but a young scholar, eager and foolish, studying the occult in Amsterdam under the guidance of Arminius Vanbury, a man whose knowledge of the unspeakable far surpassed anyone I have ever known. He spoke of things no mortal should comprehend, of beings who walked this earth long before humanity rose from the dust. And I, in my arrogance, believed myself ready to confront the darkness. One night, as I returned from my studies, I found a girl, barely more than a child, wandering alone in the streets. Her clothes were tattered, her skin pale as the grave. She looked at me with eyes that seemed far too old for her young face, and when she spoke, her voice sent a chill through my soul. "Sir," she whispered, "I am so very hungry." Without hesitation, I took her by the hand and led her to my home, offering food and warmth. But as I turned my back to her, a terrible coldness filled the room. I spun around to find her standing close, too close, her lips parted to reveal sharp, glistening teeth. I was unprepared. She moved with the speed of a striking viper, her hands like iron as they gripped my shoulders. But I was stronger then, and with a desperate prayer I reached for the crucifix around my neck. The moment the holy symbol touched her flesh, she shrieked, a sound that haunts me to this day. She fled into the night, hissing and cursing, her form twisting and warping until she disappeared. That was my first encounter with a vampire, and it was a lesson I would not soon forget. Years later, when Jonathan Harker's frantic letters reached me, recounting the horrors he faced in the ancient castle in Transylvania, I knew that the evil I had faced all those years ago was nothing compared to the malevolence that walked the earth in the guise of Count Dracula. You know the rest, of course. How we hunted the fiend across Europe, how we fought to destroy him before his curse could spread. We were victorious, yes, but the cost was great. Lucy, my poor dear Lucy, was lost to us, as were others who dared to stand against the darkness. But there is something I have never told anyone, something I have kept hidden even in those dearest from me. The girl I encountered that night, so long ago, was not just any vampire. She was my wife's child, born not of our union, but of an unspeakable horror that had visited her before we even met. A secret that she had kept, fearing what it must mean. My beloved wife had been a victim of the same dark force that would later haunt all our lives. A victim of Dracula himself. And the child she bore, that poor cursed girl, was the result of that monstrous violation. My wife did not live long enough to reveal the truth to me. She died before the girl could even be born, leaving me to raise what I believed was an orphan Denise. In the final battle, as we drove the stake through the Count's heart, as his body crumbled to dust, I saw her in his eyes, the girl who had once called me uncle, who I had tried to protect from the truth since her birth. She had come to me that night not out of hunger, but to warn me of what her true father intended. In the end, it was not just Dracula who perished that day. A part of me died with him. The part that had believed in the goodness of the world, in the power of love to conquer all. The world thinks the nightmare is over, but that Count's evil has been vanquished. But I know better. There is still a piece of him left in this world, a piece that bears my wife's blood and my name. She is out there, waiting, watching, and when she comes for me, it will not be out of love or mercy. No, it will be to finish what her father began. There was a slight mistake in the last piece, but
Great job. So
that was a good story.
Yeah, he said he had a mistake, but he didn't make a mistake at all. That was Jack. Jack is a perfectionist when it comes to all this sort of stuff. So, but yeah, I think that's it. It's one and done, guys. You heard it. It's not going to be heard again. So yeah, that was Jack Stauffer as Van Helsing.
That was good.
Wow.
Yeah, he did a really good job there. And if you guys really liked it a lot, just reach out to Jack's page and show him some love. Send him something on his text message or something like that. Tell him that you heard it tonight and that you are amazed by his performance. He would love that. Trust me. He would really love that.
And remember, you've got your last chance to get an autograph.
That's right.
By Jack Stauffer. Get those forms in. Get those forms in, guys, because we want to get as many autographs as possible. Show Jack some love.
Yep,
and
help him out.
These photographs, very, very special photographs, and Jack's not going to any more conventions. That's it.
This is it.
So this is your last chance. So with that being said, I think we've another guest.
Oh, so, yes, definitely. When just 5 won't do. Why not get sitting on? Give me a second. We'll line that one up. Oh, I got to turn Pete back on. There you go, Pete.
Wrote that.
Huh?
I did write that. Yeah, I wrote that.
That was an original piece. Taking place within the Stokerverse.
Yeah.
And you purposely set that up for Jack to share with us here on Halloween. So thank you very much for doing that and for honoring Jack in that way.
No props.
No and since you mentioned the autographs, Doc, it's important to emphasize that the 8x10s that Jack is autographing are the last from his own convention run.
Yep.
So
his own collection.
These are not reprints. These are the ones that the last of the ones that he would carry with him to do conventions.
Yep.
So if you haven't signed up, please do. Right. These are
and there's a limited amount of the certain ones. So
That's right. And this is all for basically we talked Jack into doing this. He wasn't, he didn't want to do this, but because we made it a point to tell him that the fans were still interested. There were many that wanted to get it, including myself and John One and Tipsy and a lot of you that are listening now that wanted to have a Jack autograph. So please get out there, sign the. There's a form, and we have it up on IFB at Interfleet Broadcasting. Go to our Meta social media Facebook page. Please fill out the form. It'll tell you exactly what to do. And of course, the bulk of this is all, 90% of this is a gift to help defer Jack's medical bills, and the rest of it is the shipping and handling. There is nothing. There is, nobody's making any money on this. This is just a gesture to help out Jack. So please, guys, if you can and if you want, please get a signed 8x10 from Jack Stauffer.
Yep. Getting 2.
Yes. So
yep. I've got 3, I think, in there. So.
And they're all authenticated and everything else, the paperwork with it and everything. So
yep, you'll send
yep. There will be a small IFB. Will take pictures of Jack autographing them. If you want them personalized, we can have that done as well. Oh, there was a request. So just really quickly, if you'll allow me, there was a request from a fan that wanted to send in a poster. Mm-hmm. We're not doing that, unfortunately. That's not within the purview of this setup. It was very difficult, guys, to convince Jack to do just this that we're doing. For us to try to handle sending in other items,
it's going to be a little much for him,
it's not going to work. So if you still want one, please, it's one of those 8x10s that he took with him to conventions. It's the last of what he has left. So please consider doing that.
Oh, I thought we were frozen there for a second. I saw Pete blink, though. We're good. So Doc, we're good.
Are you prepared to introduce our next guest?
This is one of my very good friends. Now, she's written a lot more than this, but she is known for writing within the Buffyverse. And I thought, well, why not? We have a celebration of Dracula. Let's have a celebration of more pop culture vampires, right?
Buffy.
Heck yeah, right. Okay. Here's a confession. I think I've watched about 2 episodes of Buffy.
What?
It's not my thing at all.
That's a great series.
It's not. I think it was. I think it wasn't really my thing. But anyway, Denise and I have worked together on the Stokerverse. She and I worked on a little comic strip that if you went to the Kickstarter and got the deluxe version of issue 1 of Dracula Return, you would have had. And it was Renfield and his psychiatrist, and there's all sorts of horrible things that happen there. So yeah, let's bring Denise on, and we can have a chat about her work in Buffy and Star Trek and all sorts of things. There she is. I haven't seen you in a while. How are you doing? You doing okay?
Doing very well, and how are you?
I'm okay.
I like the beard for growing out for Christmas.
It's driving me nuts. I just want to get rid of it. It is a nightmare.
You can pass for a Greek priest. That's what you should dress up as tonight.
That should have been my career, according to some people.
Yes.
But it's driving me absolutely nuts because you can't eat, you can't drink. It's it drives you completely bonkers. But in 15 days' time, this is all going to be sprayed white, and it's going to look great for the kids.
Yes,
and
I can attest that the kids love it.
Yeah, that's right.
Nephews absolutely loved it. You did it for them. Was it 3 years ago? I think
it's about 3 years ago now, and they're all going up.
Yeah, it was
a
few months after we first met.
Yeah, Santa's very important to me. All of that sort of stuff.
It shows. It truly shows.
So I'm dedicated to it. I'm dedicated to getting this beard and stuff like that. But so anyway,
Denise,
tell us a bit. Tell us a bit about your writing career and all the fun things that you have been up to.
Oh goodness. Well, my writing career, as you know, Chris, I started writing with my late husband, Scott Ciencin. And so the Buffy books that I co-wrote with him. We wrote Mortal Fear together, and we also wrote Sweet 16. And then in the Angel universe, we wrote Nemesis. And the really funny thing about getting into Buffy, yes, fans don't quite understand how it works getting published. And we had been writing various proposals trying to get into writing Buffy and Angel. And they had been rejected and then rejected and rejected. And we had a friend of ours who was writing the books. And so we asked him, we said, well, what are your suggestions? And at the time, they had just introduced the character of Dawn, Buffy's younger sister. And for some reason, nobody wanted to write Dawn. They didn't like the character of Dawn. They didn't want to do anything with her. So we sat down and wrote two proposals with Dawn as one of the characters, and all that was how we got in, which I just think is really funny.
I do have the books. I do have the books. I just need to watch the TV show before I read the books now. Right.
Well, you know who Dawn is. You'll be like, well,
so I'll know. I'll know. Okay. So yeah, it's a feeling of mine. I did make a confession on NBC earlier this week that I don't actually really watch horror films. Yeah. I made that confession. Ooh. So a lot of people were like, wow, and I invite everybody to give me some suggestions. And I've watched a few now, and some are good and some are really terrible. But I'm more a literary horror person. I like books and comics and audios and things like that in horror, not so much horror films. But anyway, and that's quite ironic because I've written a couple of horror films that are in production now. So
are any of your books? Go figure. Are any of the books audio?
None of mine. No, unfortunately.
No. Well, what is it about Buffy that really captivated you? What was it that captured, the interest to write?
Well, I think at the time it was the first time you had a really strong female character where, here she was, this high school student, and all of a sudden she was given this power and she was out there, trying to live a life as a teenager, but also fighting the bad guys, fighting vampires. And it was that first really strong role model for teenage girls. And I think that for me, it was what grabbed me, and the comedy. That it wasn't just taking itself so seriously, that there were a lot of comedic moments in the series. And I thought the cast was just absolutely amazing.
Who's your favorite Buffy character?
Oh gosh. Probably Willow. She went through the most. She went through the biggest character arc because she started out as this very quiet, shy, little thing that people just like walked on, and then by the end, she was a very strong, powerful individual, all in her own right, and had become a lesbian. So.
That's actually a motif in your writing, not the becoming a lesbian thing. But the strong, powerful. Well, I don't know what you've been writing recently. Maybe that is a part of it. But the stuff I know you from. But well, it happens.
Exactly.
I know people who have become lesbians. It happens. Oh, hey,
Yep.
It's part of life. But like the strong female role model, all of that. That's a big motif in your writing.
Big thing for me. It was also a big thing for Scott. I mean, he really the vampire trilogy that he wrote, Vampire Odyssey, the main character in there named Danny Walters was a very strong female character. He felt that there wasn't enough of that, especially in horror, where a lot of times women were treated like doormats. And they would just scream and be rescued by the man. And he was just sort of like, well, why can't she rescue herself? And so when he was teaching me how to write, he was really instilling that in me. He's like, you're perfectly capable of rescuing yourself. You don't need some man to come in. And that was one of the reasons of why we both loved the Buffy so much, was that she didn't need some man coming in and rescuing her. And I would say, yes, it's a motif in my writing as well. And I'm proud of it. I have, 3 nieces, and, I want them to grow up to be very strong, independent women.
Mhm.
And I think the way you do that is that you show them that you're a strong
Role models. Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. You say I love, that's why I like the Alien films.
Yes.
I actually really
yes.
like Alien 1's my favorite because it's haunted house in space.
Yes.
And if you want to talk about sci-fi horror, so do watch horror films. They're mostly coded in sci-fi or cyberpunk,
Yeah.
right? Because that's more my thing. But when you look at Alien, you look at where Sigourney went. She was very even when she refused to let them on the ship because of contamination. Yeah. She was overruled by the android.
Yeah.
By Ash. There was a lot of strong female motifs in that film. But this is why I gravitated towards your work, and this is why we work so well together whenever we collaborate.
Definitely. I think the Quincy Morris short story that we wrote, Blood in Paradise, the character of the Huntress was again a very strong female character. That was a
very
delight
popular.
to write.
Yeah, that's in an anthology out there called Dracula's Guests, published by Hellbound Books. See, here I'm plugging work again. I can't bloody help it.
Denise, you can't help yourself, Doc. It's part of
I can't help it. It's terrible.
No, we can't help it.
But we had a great time.
I want to know a little bit about Silent Hill.
Yes.
You've worked with that. What tell everyone a little bit more about that.
Well, that was Silent Hill Comics, the Silent Hill Comics that I worked with my late husband on that, and that was absolutely amazing experience. It was the first time anyone had been allowed to work inside of that Silent Hill universe. This was before the movies and everything, so there was only the video games, and my late husband Scott Ciencin was given the opportunity to write the first Silent Hill comics, and I mean, at the time, Asian horror hadn't exploded yet. So he was always ahead of his time. And he had always loved Asian horror, and he had loved the Godzilla movies. And in fact, he wrote Godzilla books as well. And so when he had the opportunity to write Silent Hill, he just went for it. He was like, and like with Chris's writing, I mean, I think if Chris and Scott had ever met, you would have been best buddies, and you probably written a ton of things together, because you both have that same, like, as far as with horror, just like go for it and show all the gore and show it. And Silent Hill is perfect setting for that. And if you read his Silent Hill comics, you can just see they just went crazy. The only thing that was a little bit disappointing was they told him that he couldn't use any of the Silent Hill monsters. He had to create his own monsters, which was in a way was a lot of fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because he got to create it, but at the same time, he was playing the video game, and so there were all these all the nurses and all these things that he was like, oh, I want to work with those, and they were like, no, you have to create your own, and he was like, but I want to write these. But it was so much fun to work with that, and they were a joy to work with.
The little girl in his the little girl in the comics is a brilliant character, right? All of it. I love these comics. These were the ones I have them. I got the omnibus, and I think actually, to be fair, if he had used Pyramid Head or something like that, it wouldn't have been as powerful. And the fact that the little girl is, and I don't want to spoil this for anybody, but she keeps drawing people back into Silent Hill. There's real evil there, and I think that's what makes the Silent Hill comics very powerful, because of the real evil. There's I've read these. My memory's terrible these days, but I read it, I think, about a year ago again, and there is the detective who gets dragged back into Silent Hill, and he becomes a protector, and great character, another great character, very strong characters, and that's what punctuates your late husband's work and your work. Those characters, so you spend time developing those characters.
Yeah, I remember he was writing one. I can't remember which one it was. Like you said, my memory is terrible too. But it was the one where the veteran goes to Silent Hill.
Yeah, it's great. Yes.
And it was I remember Scott was writing it, and he was having he was having some issues with it, and we were having a conversation, and he was trying to figure out, what the theme for the story was, and he was like, and it was just a lot of like, it was a veteran in Silent Hill, and all these horrible things were happening, but there was no real core element that was pulling the story together. And I said to him, well, I said, I think it's actually a love story. And he looked at me and he's like, what do you mean a love story? They can't have a love story in Silent Hill. And well, I don't mean romantic love. I said, I think it's, all his, he's a veteran who has PTSD. He survived these horrible traumatic experiences. And I said, I think the ghosts for him in Silent Hill are the ghosts of his comrades who want him to live, because they want him to survive, because they didn't. They want him to live, with what they don't have. And he sat there and he said, and then he just like sat and just like wrote the rest of the story. And we actually had veterans come in saying that he understood the survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
And that to him, he considered that a great honor to that veterans that work really spoke to them. That was very important to him.
I can tell you quite honestly, yeah, I live with that a bit. Maybe it sounds a bit silly. Halloween's whenever the ghosts start to visit you a bit, and I don't sleep very well on Halloween night, because I think about certain things like that, and I'm not going to go into my past or anything like that. I served, and when I read that story, it makes a lot of sense, because what I would have wanted would have been for my friends to have lived on and talk about me and talk about the tales of me and my legendary drinking days and all of that kind of stuff, right? Because you're brought alive through those memories, and I think that's part of it. Ghost stories, or old stories, all that stuff, keeping those memories alive, those people and the events and the deeds they've done, because each one of us live these extraordinary lives, and I think it's a shame that that memory kind of fades as we die. And that's maybe why we become writers, that we try and preserve some of our memory, or preserve some of who we are through writing and through work and through different things. But yeah, that story was absolutely incredible. And this way, just to touch a little bit on Scott, Scott's one of my writing heroes, and I have most of his stuff. I mean, you've worked with Scott on Star Trek. Mm-hmm. For me to get on the cover of Star Trek magazine yesterday was just like, wow, okay. To be in a Star Trek book that's in New York Times best-selling, it was like, wow, okay, great. But through that, I actually was thinking about Scott. That's, again, sounds really weird, but I was thinking about him and his books, and also John Payne, who's one of my mentors, still is one of my mentors, his Star Trek work, and your Star Trek work as well. Yep. So it was kind of weird. It was a strange moment yesterday. But there you go. That's all about memory and how we as writers, as a collective, we work together very well, I think. And I don't think the memory of your work or Scott's work will ever be forgotten. I think it's very, very powerful stuff.
I still get fans contacting me that read his work when they were kids, and it's still influencing them. And I know he would have been so glad to hear that his work is still loved and is still read. And that keeps him alive. In my opinion, that keeps him alive. Know that his work is still being read. And, I feel him whenever I'm writing. Mm-hmm. I wrote a short story recently that I shared with you. That was based on an idea that came from my nephew. And I truly felt him with me when I was writing it. Like he was sitting next to me and just laughing as I was going and saying, keep going, keep going. And I think that's important, that we feel that, so they say that the veil between the worlds are thinnest at Halloween. And I always took, it's like they say it in sort of a scary way, but I always take great comfort in it, knowing that he's with me, and he's not just looking out for me, he's looking out for my family. I mean, my niece Hayden was telling me the other day that she felt his presence, and she never even met him. but she feels she was going through a tough time, and she just felt like he was there with her. And truly take great comfort in that.
Well, the Irish really believe in that. I mean, that's where Halloween comes from, Ireland.
Yeah.
And, what we would do is we would leave out gifts for the dead. We would, sound very morbid. I'm very sorry, everybody. But this is the history of Halloween. So we would have left a place for the honored dead at our table. We would have had, where trick-or-treating comes from is leaving items like food and drink on a doorway or on a window ledge. The gaps, the liminal spaces, the gaps between this world and the next. And then that gradually evolved into people knocking doors and saying, hey, give us your sweets, give us your candy. Or if you go to Tipsy's house, you're going to get frack all, right? I caught myself.
Eggs. Big zeros.
Yeah, you'll get nothing. You'll get nothing. Right, you'll get nothing. So I don't know what's going to happen to Tipsy tonight. I mean, maybe 3 spirits will visit him. I think there's been a few spirits that have visited him at the minute.
Different kinds of spirits.
Christmas present and Christmas past.
Yeah.
All the good spirits. But it's So no, I've my own particular beliefs about it. I'm a very rational man, but sometimes Halloween invites us to be irrational, and just sometimes. Yeah. And it's fun, and to suspend the belief. I'm not afraid of the ghosts of the dead. Because I think we all live with them, and it's called memory. Mm-hmm. It's called memory. So tonight, it's sometimes nice to think about the people that we have loved, who are no longer here in some ways. Maybe they're here in other ways, but we think about those people. And if you want to raise a glass of beer, wine, tea, whatever, right? Those people are still influencing our lives today. They're still very much a part of our life. So maybe that's what Halloween is. I don't know. I always try and think about the meanings. I mean, that's my theological, philosophical bent.
I think those people that have influenced our life that are not here anymore have a way of coming back in our memories. Or, I mean, if you do believe in the supernatural, but definitely in our memories. I mean, I met Richard Hatcher a couple of times, and then these things stuck with you, and they make you who you are. They leave an impression. They leave a little bit of themselves in you. No matter who or how long you've met them, or how maybe you didn't like that person, but I believe they left a little bit in you every single time you meet somebody new. So it may be in memory, it may be in spirit, but I really do think that there's a little bit out there that creates us. Those people who we talk to, those people that we work with, those people that we have friendships with, they leave something in you that makes you who you are. So it's to them that's very important that we remember them.
If it wasn't for Bram Stoker, would I be here today? Right. Would I know Denise? Would I be doing? Of course, I wouldn't be doing things. Yep. So I think about him quite a lot, and the opportunities that his work has given me.
And even if you didn't, even if you never met you never met him, but he inspires you. These are people who, like Hollywood actors or whatever else you might want to call them, they're inspirations to us to create stories, to become fans, to become who we are. I think I think you got it right. It's somebody who is always there in our memories and affect the way we think. Yeah.
Well, I mean, ultimately, we're all stories in the end.
I like that.
Your responsibility
I like that a lot. Yeah.
Your responsibility is to make yours a damn good one. That's your responsibility. Okay, like so I tell.
I will steal that. Sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, look, I tell this.
Writing that down right now.
I tell this to people who are like going to become want to be writers or entrepreneurs or all of this, and I sit down with them and go, this is what it is. This is life. This is, there's nothing else guaranteed in it. We can philosophize and we can kind of come up with ideas about things and Halloween and all sorts of stuff like that. It might just all be, I don't even know what the Battlestar Galactica word for this is. It might just all be bullshit, right? But
Feldercarb.
But the reality is, this is it. You have this chance in your hands right now. If you are still around, you can create, you can craft, you can write, you can do. Okay, and that's what it's a tremendous gift of life. So maybe that's the other thing that we should think about during Halloween. And God, this is becoming a philosophical sermon. I apologize for that.
We need background.
That's it. But these are the things that sort of I think about, and I do think about Scott a lot, Denise. During these kind of moments, because I didn't think I would be writing for Star Trek. I didn't think I'd be doing. And sometimes I think and go, that's interesting that I'm sort of doing that now, and doing, and there's been a big influence between John, Scott, and yourself, because we've known each other now for what, 2 years, two and a bit,
3 years, I think.
3 years now, but 3 years now. Again, met through Stokerverse stuff, and we've worked together. And Cthulhu, yeah.
That Cthulhu poem there.
Oh yeah, that's right. I used to.
Yes, on LinkedIn. Remember?
That's right. I wrote poems on LinkedIn and put them up and stuff. And this was before I was did published poetry. And you encouraged me a lot in that. Yes. And then I ended up becoming I think it's 4 books of poetry now. 5 books of poetry now. Some horror, some not. Mm-hmm. So so there you go. So that's.
Well, speaking of books, Denise, do you have anything coming out anytime soon?
Not at the moment. No, I've been doing a lot of short stories, which are I'm trying to put together a short story collection, and so I'm working on that. So hopefully, it's sort of whimsical fantasy with a bit of horror in it, my own little twist, and it's just. I'm not sure how long it's going to take before I'm done with it, but I'm enjoying it. I'm having a lot of fun.
There you go.
Yeah. And I've been sharing it with Chris as I get them finished.
They're very good. I mean, you did Christmas stories for you did the gifts for your family, the Christmas stories, and they were
so much fun. Yes,
they were fun.
2 Christmases in a row, I had my nieces and nephews write out paragraphs of a story they wanted, and then I would write it for them. That was their Christmas present. I would get them printed and do a cover and everything for them. So it was actually their Christmas story, which they loved, and then I loved doing it. That was so much. That's something I'll treasure for the rest of my life.
Excellent. Very, very nice. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for sharing, Denise. It's
my pleasure.
It's made it a very special and unique Halloween here on season 5 of IFB Interfleet Broadcasting. Dr. McAuley, thank you for inviting Denise here to celebrate Halloween. I believe that we have one other special Doctor Who.
We do. So to introduce this, Colin Becker, the 6th Doctor, and I are quite good friends. He was my Van Helsing in Voices of Dracula, which I know you've listened to.
Oh, yeah.
And he's the president of the Doctor Who Appreciation Society, which I write extensively for. I'm in various Doctor Who annuals and stuff this year, and it's wonderful to write for Doctor Who Appreciation Society when Colin's the president of it. And let's just roll this. This is great. He had a bit of a trouble with his camera, so you might have to angle your head.
I cut that part out first. Do I need to cut that or leave it in?
Yeah. Leave it in. It's Colin. It's great, mate. So you might have to angle your head a little bit. But once again, I made sure that Colin was compensated for this. He talks about his work in Dracula. And I really appreciate his time on this.
Cool.
Oops. Hang on.
And you are going to get it.
Hang on. Let's try that again. Now we got the audio working.
Okay, Chris. You asked for this and you are going to get it. On the right, Van Helsing, as played by Colin Baker. In the coffin, a young lady about to be staked with a spear.
that was my production of Dracula. Well, it wasn't my production, I was in it, playing Van Helsing. And that was 10, 15 years ago. And now I am here telling you about it. You asked to know about it. Well, it was a very strange production. It was set in modern times, although the story was exactly the same. And the stage was a series of angles and ramps, and it was a very interesting production of it, written by Brian Lavery, who is a very, very accomplished writer. But it was very spooky and very scary, and I loved playing Van Helsing. It was a great surprise when I was asked to do it, and I happily agreed and spent a very happy 6-8 months touring the UK, driving stakes into grumpy young ladies' hearts. I hear that you're going to be doing a bit of the old Dracula yourself, and I hope it goes extremely well for you. Is it an audio version, or is it going to be... No, it's a comic, isn't it? It's a Dracula comic. Well, I hope you know now what Van Helsing looks like. It's all right, no pressure. I wish you well. I love comics. Funnily enough, they're reprinting the one that I wrote. They called it a graphic novel back then. I wrote a Doctor Who one called The Age of Chaos, which is coming out again in a compilation with several other full-length comics, graphic novels. And I'm very honoured to be the only Doctor to have ever written one. So I hope your Dracula is superb. You've written one about the Doctor facing off against the Master and Dracula and the Cybermen. I'd be very interested to know how that works out. I think I know who might be triumphant overall, but then I'm a smug old Doctor, aren't I? Do you like what I'm wearing, by the way? This arrived today. It's a hoodie that I've only just managed to get into, even though over the COVID outbreak I've lost, 35 pounds now. And I've got the Van Helsing look, I think, perhaps. Perhaps you should have a beard, I don't know. Anyway, I wish you and your colleagues great success with your Dracula ventures. Funny enough, I wrote a musical of Dracula years ago. Well, I thought I had, and I sent it off, and it was rejected. And apparently they get sent a Dracula musical every other day, practically. It's the most popular musical format that's not been produced yet. I wonder why. I think it'd be rather good. Anyway, goodbye, Chris. Look after yourself. Nice talking to you. And I hope we can perhaps get together one day. Be safe. Bye-bye.
Excellent.
He's a wonderful man. So he didn't realise that we had done Dracula comics or anything. He was like, oh, you've done. I have written Doctor Who versus Dracula versus the Master in a Doctor Who annual, official Doctor Who annual. He got that subsequently to recording this video, and I have a picture of him reading it and showing it off and stuff. His Doctor does triumph. It's actually quite terrifying. I'm sitting thinking about this. I've written 7 Doctor Who annuals for 6 different Doctors. The most recent one was the Davros stuff for the Daleks with Terry Malloy. It also is part of the Stokerverse. We'll get Terry on because he's got a wealth of.
That'd be awesome.
We'll get Terry on. But yeah, that was so. I just wanted to show those videos so that they weren't lost time, and IFB fans got a little taste of how 2 Doctors worked on Dracula and Stokerverse.
Wow.
It's incredible. Thank you very, very much for sharing all of that with us, Dr. McAuley. I appreciate that. For full transparency, though, it's important that for those that are not aware, you are a creative producer here at IFB, Interfleet Broadcasting.
Yes.
So let's make sure that we put that out. And
Yes,
for,
I'm very,
like a,
very proud to be creative producer here. What you guys are doing, incredible. John, Pete, Tipsy, Tiny Bean, everybody who's involved in this. We're getting views between 40,000. Sometimes I think we've got like 60,000 at one stage. It was, it's been quite incredible. We've done specials with the cast members of Battlestar Galactica.
Yes,
we have a Battlestar Galactica quiz book that's out.
Yep.
We have done a lot of things, and there's a lot more to come.
Lots and lots more to come.
Lots more to come, and we are serving the fans. We are in film, in books, on our podcasts here, and I'm very proud to be part of it. And you know what? It's just fun on a Thursday to do stuff with friends.
Oh yeah,
isn't it?
It is, absolutely. And thank you, Denise, for coming. It's been a special Halloween. Thank you for taking your time out. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me. It was so much fun.
It's been great to see you again. I've missed you.
I've missed you too.
We should do this more often.
Yes, we should.
Oh yeah, welcome to come back anytime.
Well, guys, that is, I think, a very good way to end Halloween here on IFB. We look forward to having everyone back. John 1, as usual, thank you for doing the job that you do. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Dr. McAuley, you keep doing what you do. Denise, we hope to have you, return. Maybe we can figure out a way or a day that would work for you to come back. We would love to talk more about all the things that you've been writing. You've been writing for well over 20 years,
yep.
And I think we would like to explore that. So thank you.
I'd be happy to.
Excellent. Tipsy, thanks for handling tonight. I think we pulled it off very, very well. And happy Halloween to everyone. Doc, anything?
Just thanks once again for indulging me here. I'm becoming quite a regular. And I hope nobody's getting bored or sick of me. I try and bring something new every time I come on. But yes, Halloween is over. I have to completely admit I have been really tired this month because it's just been go. But this has been a wonderful way to end my Halloween celebrations. I know Decker in Transylvania.
Yeah,
I know
I've seen his videos. It's amazing.
Yeah, he's going to be watching this tomorrow, and he deeply appreciates everyone who watches this, who continually supports IFB, and everybody who supports our work together. During the presentation, I tried to explain basically how important the Stokerverse is. We're not trying to do a knockoff. We're not trying to make money on somebody's name. We're genuinely trying to use notes and Bram's authentic original vision and bring that to the public eye. This is very, very important to us. And I should have, please God, I should have a very big announcement to make on IFB in the next 4 weeks.
Yes. Yes. Excellent. Tipsy, you have the final word.
Oh, I have the final word. I just want to say thank you for everybody coming. We really do appreciate it. We'll be back again next Thursday. Thursday. Yeah, we'll be back next Thursday. Have more people, have more fun, have more information. But remember, it's important that we recognize all of you, not us. It's because you feel the fandoms, you feel the fleet. So last but not least, I switched over to a beer because I ran out of gin and coffee. So here's to you. Fans fuel the fleet.
Fans fuel the fleet.
Take care.
Slideshow. Fans fuel the fleet, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.